Hey guys, welcome back to another show of Backwoods Brothers.
Wow.
Frank was supposed to freeze, but he moved at
Hey,
the last
I
second.
can't help it. Man.
Yes.
I'm always moving.
Hey, we are on here with Frank Pickens, my man.
Thank you.
And
Thank
the
you.
author of So You Want to Be a Cop.
Yes.
Pick one up at your local grocery store.
Amazon.
Amazon. Amazon.
I don't know
Amazon.
what camera we're on. There you go.
That one. Yes.
one. It's
We're going to be
backwards.
talking a lot about this on the show. And by the way, my man Joel forgot to introduce himself.
Oh yeah, I'm Joel, and this is my man.
Tony.
Yeah,
Tony.
sorry. I
Yeah.
got to break it up into something different occasionally. you know.
Right. Break it up. Break it up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
break
you
it up.
don't
break
have
it up.
a predictable.
Yes, but
And
we.
oh
Frank-
wait, hot on the keys is my girl Brandy.
Randy, yeah.
Yes. And
Yay.
check her show out tomorrow night. As a
Yep.
matter of fact, it is a awesome show talking from the heart. So
Yes.
if you want to hear something from the heart, definitely tune into.
And
Brandy Show 7.
I'm actually the producer on that show, and that's why you hear so
Producer
many
Joel.
bad timings on the sounds.
Or you hear sounds altogether. You hear like laughing and all those ones.
No,
Hey guys,
she uses them.
real fast, she does. She
Yeah.
does, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's using one right now.
And Sis does that too right now. So, hey guys, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. We love you. And we're so glad that you have picked this hour and a half to come and join us. So, put on your, make sure that you real fast use that keyboard to interact with us.
Yes.
We are expecting a lot of questions, a lot of interaction as we have introduced Frank to you.
And
Joel, take it away.
Well, I think for those who aren't from like the 1960s or whatever, you use your phone to interact as well.
Did I say keyboard?
Yes. I'm the only one who uses the
your
keyboard anymore.
8-track. No.
Oh,
Use
your
eight-
Betamax.
Betamax.
Yeah.
Betamax. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, he went way
now
back
you're going
there.
way back.
Yes. Okay.
So, yeah. Anyway, so Frank, you were a law enforcement back when Jesus was a corporal, right?
Yeah. Maybe a little sooner than
A
that.
little sooner than that.
Yeah. 90s and early 2000s.
Exactly. And hey, guys, real quick.
80s.
The link to his book is actually in our if you want to see, get a closer picture of what you can see here. It's actually in our what do you call comments and stuff. You'll see the link there. But yeah, so
Through
in the
Amazon?
80s, in the 80s, yeah, through Amazon.
Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted to point that out is for besides you get a chance to promote your book, but also I want to show this Starsky and Hutch type of photo.
Yeah.
Right here. I'm gonna see if I can get it up there.
Oh, man.
Love it.
I've had
There it
people
is.
see
Oh, look
that,
at that.
picture
There
and
it is.
say, was that
Which
you?
one? Which one's you?
The one on the left.
So you have people look at
yeah.
your picture and say, what?
Yeah, I kind of get offended a little when they say, well, which one's you? And I go, well, my friend's Hispanic, for one thing, and he's younger than me. I'm on the left.
So
Okay.
was Magnum PI like your
Magnum
your,
PI, yeah, I watched Magnum PI.
What about Chips?
You're awesome, man.
Oh, Chips was great. And I remember once on a game show, they talk, the guy introduces himself and says, I'm a California Highway Patrolman.
Yeah.
And he says, well, is that show really real? He goes, well, let me put it to you this way. They do more on 1 hour of Chips than I might do in 5 years. So they can't give you an idea right there how that works.
Yeah.
And I think it was more the sex appeal too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, TV, except for Hill Street Blues,
Oh,
at
my
that
goodness.
time was probably the most first realistic portrayal of police. And since then, there's been a few police dramas like NYPD Blue, Southland.
What about Cops?
Well, the show Cops?
Yeah.
Well, you can't get any more real than that. I mean, you're following them as they go.
Yeah.
Well, they always
And-
seem to have action though in what they do.
well, because they edit it, and they'll ride along with you.
Yeah.
I know when I was once they wanted to do a cops in my town, and I was going to be the one. They didn't want them to do it with me.
Right.
They
I
didn't
don't
want
know
to deal
why.
with you with those.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
don't
you
know.
look like a freaking badass.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
I was, but I was very professional and I was very friendly to people.
Yeah.
It's just that there's a time and place. It almost comes with wearing the uniform. It's like when I talk about the fishbowl effect. Everybody's watching.
Which is referenced in his book, The
Yeah,
Fishbowl
the
Effect.
fishbowl effect. And it's kind of different when you're new and you go through the academy for 3 months, and then you go to a field training program, which can be 12 weeks, can be 20 weeks, and you're sitting in a patrol car with a veteran officer just watching you drive, evaluating everything you do. And back then when I did it, they were designed to stress you out. In other words, I don't know if you can swear here, but
Oh, by all
they
means.
were assholes to you.
Yeah.
And you're driving around just because you went to the academy
Yeah.
doesn't mean, you know crap you're now learning more in your field training because you're actually out there as a police officer.
Yeah.
So it's and this guy's stressing you out. I remember driving and he'd be saying once, "We're not doing anything," and I'm like, "What do you want me to manufacture a crime?" You know, I'm new and waiting for a call.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult, but they've changed it because they're paying you to go to the academy. They're paying all this money, and you're flunking out of field training because it's too stressful. And their attitude back then was, stress them out. If they can't handle the stress, then they won't handle it. Now they're encouraging. You know, they ride along with you. They help you to try and foster you into the job. It's pretty overwhelming to sit in a patrol car for the first time after the academy and have a guy evaluating you. You don't know crap.
Yeah.
You know?
My understanding of the fishbowl effect, and I know we're already getting in a little bit into the book, and we haven't got to know you yet, but that's okay. But you talked about the fishbowl effect.
Yeah.
You referenced the fishbowl effect as something a little bit different, though, than what you just described. What is the fishbowl effect?
Well, you know, when you're in your car, you're at a stoplight, you go to the common joke, you're at the coffee donut shop. Someone's always watching you, so you got to be cognizant of that. Like sometimes when you drive, well, you know, you take liberties with your driving and you do maybe something that you're not allowed to do, like U-turn or whatever. And people would actually call the department and go, "Hey, I saw one of your officers speeding and going 55, you know." So what I used to do, a little trick back then, is when your back yellow lights are blinking, they're called your amber lights. If I needed to get around all the traffic, I didn't have time to deal with that, I'd flick my amber lights on, and nobody'd ever say anything because it looked like you're going to a call. And that was my way around that. So you got to, and then, you know, just how you're acting, you got to get used to the fact that you pull up to an intersection. There's cars everywhere, and people are just, you know, they're staring at you.
Yeah.
They're watching you. Yeah, and it's, until you get used to it, it's a little disconcerting, especially as a rookie. You know, you don't want to pick your nose or do something stupid, and then there's people that just hate you. You know, you already know that.
It's like history. History repeats itself. It seems like all the more people are watching cops.
Yeah.
Now they're recording cops.
Oh, yeah.
Now you have that access to do that. So the fishbowl effect is really
magnified.
Right?
I can't even imagine what I see now. When, especially if you're dealing with somebody and it's not so pleasant, out comes the cameras, you know, and it's like, I don't know if you want me to go into what I told you before, but I've always thought in high school, like my stepson, he had to do a project before graduating. He chose to volunteer at a vet, We Love Animals, for a week and then give a presentation. What I think should be done is every student in high school should be required to do one ride along.
Yes.
On a Friday or Saturday night with a police officer before you graduate. And this way they get to see, and you've had a ride along, they get to see in that car what you got to do, hear that radio. You know, your radio's going all the time, and you got to listen for your call sign. When I was new, I'm learning the maps, and finally you hear it. I'm 38, Lincoln 38. When you hear Lincoln 38, that's you. So
I think Joel went on one too.
I've been on, actually spent about 6 weeks doing a job shadow for Gresham Police Department.
Oh, really?
Back when I was, I think I was 18 at the time. Anyways, I was trying to decide if I wanted to be law enforcement or what.
And that's the best way to do it.
Yep. So I got to go on a lot of different calls and different things at the time. And my observation was in that 6 weeks is it was 90% babysitting.
Yeah, I mean, I had a different...
More domestics than I've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you got to be 100% cop, 100% psychologist. And at that time when I was, and no, I was telling you it's a psychologist, but I mean, they wanted to hire 21-year-olds who had a degree. I mean, I had 2 years of college, but they were finding that they were really unsuccessful. You're going to a domestic violence, and you're going to tell a couple that have been married for 25 years how to deal with their problems. And you got some young guy with pimples at 21 years old going, well, you know, you should. I mean, it doesn't work that way. They're unsuccessful. And then if you're a cover officer, you're in the back, and sometimes you take over the call when you see that you need to and deal with them. And always you need to keep the other officer inside. Ideally, you don't want to go into another room. You don't want to separate. Watch their hands if they sit at a sofa. I mean, I taught classes at the academy on officer safety, so it's a big deal to me. But yeah, I mean, it's there's so much to the job that it's gotten to be now just police are here, you like them or hate them.
So a couple comments real quick, guys. This has to be better than the E and W page. I'm assuming that means Sophisticated Neighborhood Watch page. I'm not sure what that actually means. Glad that Frank Pickens is on the show tonight.
Oh, that's nice.
We
Thanks.
support law enforcement 100%,
Yes.
24/7, 365. So
Absolutely.
apparently not on the leap year.
Yeah.
The one day they don't support them.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm just kidding, guys.
100%.
I'll take the support anyway.
I like Blue Bloods.
Yes.
Blue Bloods, great show.
That sounds like a
I've never
vampire
seen it.
police
It's
show.
Tom Selleck, so man.
Really, Tom Selleck.
Yeah, he's the
It's a-
commissioner in the New York Police
Doesn't it
Department.
sound
Oh.
kind of like it should be like a vampire police show?
Blue
or something?
Bloods.
Right, Blue Bloods.
Blue
Anyways,
Blood's Crips.
That's a great show, though. It's very realistic.
Yeah, very.
See, it says, Frank, I don't know if you want me to read this one because I don't know if you want this out there, but can you read that at all?
Well, I can't see,
Oh.
but let me get my glasses so I can
I
read
just don't know
it.
if you want me to put this information out there or not. You okay with
Yeah, I don't have a problem with
Okay.
that.
that? All right.
Oh, what does
it
it
says,
say about the vaccine? Would you take the vaccine? No, I will not get a vaccine.
it says I'm going to go on and read the comment.
All right.
It says, Frank, how are you doing post Corona? Was really worried about you for a
Yeah.
while there. After experienced what you did, would you get the vaccine?
No.
Okay. There's the answer for it.
I'm
Frank,
doing okay.
for what years were you an officer, and was all your time in Portland?
No, whenever it was in Portland, it was all in California, near a city. I don't really want to say the city, but it's on the peninsula near San Francisco. And I started in 86 up to 2000.
Yep. And the next question was asking if you're a California cop, and
Yeah.
that's actually answered the question there already. Let me go ahead and do a couple more comments, and we'll jump back in to
Okay.
talk about your book.
Sure.
My daughter did a ride along with for her senior year project.
Great.
A friend of mine at Port Police took her out all day. She loved it. And
Yeah.
Frank, do you think that defunding the police campaign is hiring social workers instead of will work?
No, it's a joke because, it's a dangerous job. And especially I worked 8 years on graveyard shift. You're going to get called to scenes and you don't have any training. You may have a social worker who's a psychologist, but when they're drunk, intoxicated, and on drugs, that ain't going to work because they're not going to give a crap about your psychological stuff. You've got to be able to know how to talk to them. You got to know how to calm them down. And if it gets violent, what are they going to do? They don't know how to use a gun. Do they have a gun? Do they carry a gun with them? Do they know how to use a baton or mace or a stun gun? We didn't have tasers when I was doing it. We had stun guns. But I never needed to use it. But, there's some female officers, smaller officers, that had to use it to defend themselves. But no, social work, if you want to have somebody ride along with a police officer 8 hours a day, it's just ridiculous because it's not about that. Police officers know right away when they're dealing with somebody who may have, mental issues, who may not be there. You can identify them, but a lot of times they're on drugs, heroin or whatever that can mimic, they're walking around, but you learn with experience the things that they're nodding down, if they're scratching themselves, and you can tell. But defunding the police is not going to work, as evidenced by what's going on, record-breaking murders in big cities all over the country, including Portland.
Yeah, I think Portland, last I looked, it was up at like 980%.
Yeah, they all are. And
So
people in San Francisco are leaving their cars unlocked and their trunks open so that their windows aren't smashed out. That's surrendering to lawlessness.
Well, in L.A., the smash and grab.
Oh, you have 20 people walking into a department store just helping themselves, and the mayor or city council says it's okay. You can take up to $2,000. I thought it was $900.
Oh, okay.
Back when I was a cop, $400 or more was considered grand theft.
Right.
But you're watching this, and what are people thinking? I know people don't even want to walk down the street.
Yes.
I had people wanting to visit me, their friends or family. They will not come to Portland.
Right.
The Mayor Wheeler, he doesn't give a crap. And it's just incredible.
In your book, you talk about burnout.
Yeah.
And so this defunding the police and this anti-police rhetoric that's coming forward has to show in a police officer's ability to go to work every day and know that he's going to or she's going to be accosted.
It's very difficult to get used to the fact that when you put on your badge and you go out for your shift, it could be your last shift.
Yeah.
So you have to learn to deal with that alone. But the other thing that you're saying is it's a much more dangerous job now. Mm-hmm. And, to want to be a police officer in this environment, I don't see why a person would want to do that until they get the fun. They had a Chicago. I'm from Chicago originally.
Oh wow.
They had a dispatcher in Chicago who got on and said, "I get calls of a homicide, and I don't have beat units to go available because we don't have enough people." And that's what we're going for. And so when you call 911, you can call 911. It may take 15, 20 minutes to get there. By that time, whatever's going on is done.
At
It'll happen like
the
that.
rate they're going, you call 911, you're going to get a busy signal.
You may. And they won't even do things.
Leave a message.
Yeah.
I'm going to get into it, but my feeling about, and I talked to Joel about this, my feeling about cancel culture is unfortunately perpetuated by a group of people, and it feels like the defunding the police is another form of cancel culture.
Yeah.
And to a great deal. But I guess my question to you is when we talk about police burnout, I see ads on Facebook about trying to get police officers just with a GED now.
Yeah.
Or anybody that's just willing to get out there and do it. It's pretty scary.
If you're breathing, then then you pass the first test.
And imagine what it was like in my day when you were going through the hiring process, which is all in here.
Yeah.
If you did any drugs, forget it. If you did pot, you better have not done it for like 5 years or more. I mean, the competition to be a police officer was so intense.
Yeah, it's listed in here.
Yeah, I remember when I applied for the Clackamas County Sheriff, so it had been like maybe a little under a decade ago. And I remember I made it onto the list. I actually passed through all the tests, and I was on the hiring list.
The oral board is usually the defining where you get placed after the oral interview.
Yeah, I made number 3rd on the list, and they hired.
That's awesome.
They hired 1 that year instead of 3.
That's how it used to be.
It was supposed to be. I think they were supposed to hire 3, and then they got.
Did they do your background?
I think so. They went through all that.
Yeah, because usually the top 10 they'll do backgrounds.
They probably did. Then I got a bunch of paperwork they had me fill out and stuff. So I think.
Yeah, that's your background's about this thick.
Yeah.
This might fall in line with that a little bit, Joe. Could you read just a couple of these? Speaking of trying to, if you want to become a cop, this is what you had to
You
face.
printed the book upside down, Frank.
Hey, you got to turn it this way, Joe. I mean, come on, work with me.
So it says, in applying for as a cop, you'll be required to pass a battery of tests.
Oh, yeah.
So do you have like a battery test?
No, it's everywhere.
A battery of tests, which
Double A.
includes the following: written test, a physical agility test, oral board, polygraph examination, psychological test and evaluations, extensive background investigation, medical examination, COVID test.
No, there's no COVID.
This wasn't written then. I mean, as a matter of fact, you co-authored it.
He's that forward of a thinker.
But that's essentially the same. I mean, years have gone by, but most of what's in here is still applicable today.
Wow.
I think it's everything I went through when I.
It is. It's the same. I mean, so the years have gone by, but it doesn't transcend the book. It just isn't about defunding the police and the political garbage and crap toward police.
Yeah. This wasn't written then.
Someone wanted us to maybe republish it. But
looking at your picture here, I'm
back to the picture, Tony. What's the deal?
I know.
Yeah, I'm looking back to the picture. I'm kind of curious. What kind of holster did you have to put your shotgun into?
I didn't have.
That'd be hard to run with that thing.
It's right there. Yes, the big one. Yes, the big one. That's all
you're talking about. Well, you see, that was after graveyard shift at a park. And we took the picture. Notice we whited out the plate because the chief of police hated the idea of our book. So we could take the picture of the car, but he couldn't say nothing. Yeah. And but yeah, I mean, I honestly, there's a stereotype that maybe now and over the recent years that cops carry more than one gun, backup guns. I never did. Never felt the need to.
Wow.
So carry a pocket knife.
I had a knife, but that can be used like when you have violent prisoners. You have the things called hobbles and plastic cuffs. When you get them off, you got to use a knife to get them off.
I was going to bring in, I actually have a set of handcuffs. I was going to bring them in and let you handcuff Tony. No. But I figured that would. I figured that
and read me my Miranda rights.
Well, I figured it would go wrong because I couldn't find the key for it. That might would.
I would have gotten stuck.
Unless they're magic
guys,
cuffs.
I'll see you next week right here, stuck to the table.
Well, you know what? Sometimes everybody, smart cops would carry 2 cuffs. There are a lot of times we had an area of Islanders, Samoans, and Tongans who are huge.
Yeah.
Well, cuffs won't fit them, so you need to string cuffs along.
I actually, when I worked security in Vegas, we were actually we operate much closer to a law enforcement agency.
Yeah.
Our whole security department was developed by the Metro Police Department.
Oh, okay, yeah, Las Vegas Metro.
Yeah. So we like I arrested people, I handcuffed them, and I take them down, things like that. That happened in working in the casinos down there. So I actually carried a set of handcuffs on each side because if you might be holding them with this side, have to grab them out of this side, or you might be holding them this one, have to grab. You don't want to keep trying to reach around for that. So yeah, I usually carry 2 just because.
Well, you know, the duty belt is you used to refer
sometimes
to
you
it.
could have them up front too.
I used to refer to it as Batman. Well, when this book was going on, I was writing articles. I'm real proud of it, and I did them for free. They were being published in police magazines all over the country. A lot of them were for cops, written by beat cop about situations that they're familiar with. A lot of humor.
Yeah.
I wrote training articles, but I was published in everything from the Utah Peace Officers Association to Rhode Island Fraternal Order Police. And I was being published everywhere, so my stuff was very well read.
Let me ask you, what inspired you to write this how-to manual?
And the thing I only want to say about that is it's still written in a book fashion. So when you say manual, it's not like someone might think you go to the library and you see.
Right.
Yeah, it's a novel format. Because you notice we use a character at the beginning of every chapter that's going through some element of what that chapter's about. And he progresses through each chapter. Right. But me and my partner there in Graveyard thought, you know, there's not a book out there that has been written that, you know, they wouldn't even let me sell this book at the academies and stuff because it tells you things that they're not going to tell you.
I noticed this.
I mean, they're not going to tell you about internal affairs investigations.
Yep.
They're not going to tell you.
Polygraph tests.
You're not going to know.
Yep.
Yeah, polygraph. I mean,
I think
there's tricks.
Those are part of the standard hiring process now.
Yeah, but you know,
I believe.
you know, there's it's knowing little things you're not going to learn anywhere else. And I think that it's important to know things like that at the academy. It's helpful. I mean, it helps you get through to that point and know what you. I remember the first time I got called in internal affairs, I didn't even know he's reading me something called reverse Miranda rights. Right. And I'm standing here going, what the hell is this? He goes, well, that guy you arrested last night claims that you took his watch. I go, well, go look at the film. You can see I never took his watch. I booked it all on the property. But this guy was he's an asshole, and he's an IA guy. And so he made a big deal about it, but he didn't get very far because they pulled the footage, and the guy that helped me in the booking said, no, that's not true. And it turns out they found the watch. It was there. The guy's a prisoner. I mean, we book him into jail, and, you know, they're just going to say, people will accuse you of everything. It's like...
So you're reverse
reverse Miranda.
Miranda, I can't say it.
It's like when
it's reading it to you because you're now under investigation.
Yeah, and I used to help. I used to see if it was a female, had a broken car.
Yeah.
I'd give her a ride, and when I get in, you got to give your starting mileage and your ending mileage because they will say you took them somewhere or you tried to rape them. There's so many things that aren't taught, you know, that you got to know as you become a cop. I don't know if they do that today, but they should, because many times they've had to retrace your route to make sure. So when you have your mileage in there, that's just another thing that you need to do. Yeah. So anyway.
That's you know, those little things you don't think about.
You're helping somebody, but that person you're helping could turn around and say anything later.
One thing about your book is it's really an easy read.
Yeah, it's
so
very
a
easy.
Civilian like me can read it and understand it.
It's a very easy book to read, and I think we came up with the idea, and then it just wrote itself. And I was writing anyway, so he'd work on a chapter, and I'd be doing other chapters, and we'd be parked. You see cops parked side by side. Well, it's 3, 4, 5 in the morning, you know. We'd be writing, and it just turned into, not that, because I wrote it and my friend, but it is the best book that you will ever find out there, because everybody that's read it, they've been people who have nothing to do with police.
Yep.
They love the book because it's an insight into what goes on inside the police department, and I hope it's changed, but most cops in my day would tell you the biggest stress they have is not the job, but inside the department.
Well, the one thing I also liked about the book is you actually put a lot of pictures in here.
He did on the, well.
I like that
good,
too.
Joel. No, this is the second edition we published a year ago, and he included a lot of pictures in it, which was nice. They're black and white, but
hey, you know what? It's good though. I mean,
no, it helps because people can see you.
I think the important thing is that I didn't see it in here. What's the dog's name?
Clint.
Yeah.
I missed that.
I think it was in there too.
I think it might be in the beginning. I'm not sure.
This is another part of the book I read about the police academy and all of the.
That's I think it's still 3 months long unless you're Highway Patrol. Yeah. California Highway Patrol and most state agencies think that they're better than the city and sheriff's department.
When we had a conversation a little while back with the Clackamas County sheriffs. trying to figure out, about reserve officers, possibly trying to figure out we can get them out here or try a way to encourage
It's
them
a
to come out here.
great program.
And that one was 6 months long for the Reserve Academy there because it's every weekend, I think, or something. And they do I think you do like a month long to go the whole time, and then it's like the rest is like 2 weeks once every 2 weeks or something.
Well, the reserve program in California was you had to go to administration of justice and take 2 classes, and then you had to qualify at the range, and then spend time. You could only ride with another reserve officer or a regular officer.
They had like a it seemed like a little complicated in the way that they do it. They had different levels of reserves.
Yeah,
now.
they had level 1 and level 2.
I think 3 is what they had there, and then once you get to like a level 3, I think they actually had a letter for like a class A or something. Then you can ride by yourself, and you can already if you're a class 2, you can ride with a class 2 officer. Which in another way, I don't know. It was
usually they would
lost me when they
pair up a reserve with a full-time sworn officer, and like I said back then, and it because I would apply everywhere because it was so hard to get hired. Mm-hmm. I'd apply in a city that had 3 openings, and you'd get 300 people out there taking the physical agility test, taking the written test.
Yes,
that's why they do the oral board, because that ranks you. And they're anywhere from 3 to 4 people, but I've been in a couple cities where it looked like the Last Supper. I walked in and they had 12 people. They had people from the city, and you walk in and they put a chair like this with no arms on it, and you're sitting here and they watch every move you make. And there's always someone in there who
evaluating.
And there's also one on the oral board who is the agitator. When they give you a scenario, he's going to question you on it, try to get you to change your answer.
Yep.
I became a master at oral interviews of police. And I'll tell you what, there's a trick to it.
Didn't they give you the MMPI?
In the psych test?
Yeah, psychological
we had the MMPI. Also, some did the CPI, California Personality Inventory Test.
Some of these questions that they would ask you are brutal.
Yeah, I know.
Brutal.
I remember one. Go ahead, Joel.
No, I was gonna say I remember when I had to do one. I was doing a reserve oral exam for trout dam.
Okay.
And I thought it went great all the way through up to the very end, and then they pull out. It was a police report that they had that was actually for my sister. She had her dad, because different dads. My little sister. Her dad had filed a police report against her ex-boyfriend at the time, which was older than her, and so it was considered one of those, statutory rape type of things.
Yeah.
But I was named simply as just a brother, but my name was in the report, and I didn't know anything about this report at all, nothing. And they basically pulled up, and this is the way they worded it. So I see your name came up in a report about the underage statutory rape. I'm like, what?
You had nothing to do with it.
I'm like, I have no idea what that even is. They didn't tell me, and then they finally told me at the end of it that that it was about my sister, and then when I finally called the actual county that it came from, they told me, you were named simply as a family member for it. Well, I'm like, why didn't they tell me that in the interview? I was like, what the heck is on there?
All the wording?
Someone using my name?
Yeah, was that?
Yeah, they didn't tell me the context of it.
Oh wow!
And so when you're saying the agitating thing, that was the agitating thing, because I was like, did someone steal my name out there? What's going on? Well, I was having a panic attack after that.
Well, getting to this point, back then, the number one disqualifying thing in the academy was report writing, because there was nothing more important than excellent report writing. And now today it's computerized. My day, you had to sit there and you'd see cops writing. And the traffic accidents were completely different. You had to take measurements. We had to use the CHP traffic accident thing to do. It was much more complex, but you were more well-rounded. You could do, and you're qualified to write tickets at traffic accidents, even though you weren't there. Which is, you can't write a ticket for somebody unless you see it. Or anything. And your thing, with reports and stuff, you want as many witnesses as you can at anything, really. Yeah. But a lot of people are very hesitant to want to say who they are.
When did you write reports? If they were that in-depth, we have computers now, you can point and click.
Yeah, I didn't have
that. But I'm not saying you were.
No,
we have computers now.
Yeah.
But in writing reports, when did you find time? Because you had call after call after call. Did you have to wait until you got off and then worked extra?
Well, no. They had, if you had an in custody, you had to at least get the face sheet and basic sheets done, and it was okay if it was approved by the watch commander. But you had to make time. And as a new officer, what they did to you and stressed you out was you'd be doing a major report, and a call would come out, and he said, we're going to jump that call and take it for experience. You're overwhelmed. You're getting all these major calls, or a rape call, or something, a suicide, something unusual.
Yeah.
But in the average thing in a burglary, your report writing had to be extensive and be good, or they'd kick it back to you. Go to the traffic sergeant, hey, you need to redo this or that. You had to become really prolific. I'm just a really, really great writer.
Yes, you are.
So it made it easy for me, but I saw so many people struggle in the academy with report writing. I used to help some of them.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's that way today because it's a different computers and everything.
I'm gonna
Every
read a
time I
few-
see your Facebook posts, they're like literary works.
Oh,
I'm
Thank
telling
you.
you
Yes.
what.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sure Facebook loves it.
I'm going to read a few more comments here. So they defund the police, and then they can't figure out why the crime is going up.
Uh-huh.
Crazy.
Right?
Yep. I was living in San Francisco in 1986. I think I'm supposed to say I'm pretty sure when I was 6 years old. My sister and I called the police when living in San Francisco apartment. My sisters and I were dealing with an intruder that was trying to kidnap us while my dad was at work. Okay. It is beyond disgusting how officers were treated during all the riots.
Yeah.
Wouldn't blame them if they had all walked away.
Absolutely.
Many thanks to all for what they do.
Well, thanks.
Thank you, Frank, for your service.
Thank you. During the original Rodney King incident,
Yeah.
I was there, and we had to go to San Francisco, and that was seen, and it wasn't anywhere like today. Because people respected cops more, even in those situations.
Yes.
And now it's become such a hands-off thing that you see them lined up there, and you see these liberal or whatever they are standing there just saying every foul thing you can say. And I know what that's like, but in that day, it was different. You had more freedom to beat people. Rodney King was obviously absurd, but the fallout from it wasn't like today.
I don't know why we forget that there are good and bad apples in everything, but at the same time, do you remember back during one of the riots, one of the boys were down there and they were cutting up, and this black lady jumps out with all the hair going out every which way, runs after him and starts spanking him. Just like, get back in that car. Get back in. I would do the same thing. If my daughter were down there, hey, it'll be on. You don't have to worry about it. You might need a cop for me.
Yeah.
So.
Also in my day that's different now that would have prevented things like the George Floyd thing.
Yeah.
I watched that, and there's 2 officers standing there. If I was there, I'd have had that cop by the head.
Right.
And get the hell off of him and cuff him up and put him in the car.
Every cop says that.
I don't know what they're teaching. I don't know what they're thinking, And you have to make split-seconds decisions. But, there were a lot of violence in my day, too, but it just seemed that cops were more adept at knowing when to back off. All of them. I mean, I've been in many violent situations, and, nothing was ever excessive. And I never saw any evidence. If I did, I'd intervene. I mean, that's your responsibility, because some people get so tied up in it, they can't turn it off.
Of course.
That's
it's called being human.
Yeah, they're humans, but that's when other people step in,
Yes.
Exactly. This comment says, my best friend just got her dream job and became a police officer.
Great.
She is now experiencing so much stress, it is affecting her vision. Dealing with all the drug addicts and homeless is very scary.
Yeah.
With all the officers, with all the stress officers have to go through today, how can a new officer deal with it?
Well, the best thing one thing that I've told people in the book too as well, when you become an officer and go to the academy, you can forget about all the front ring of friends you had, because you're going to end up having cop friends mostly. It's just the way it is. Now, if you can't get a lot of support with your friends, physically, most police stations, we had weight rooms and we had exercise. It did it with that. And when you're off work, you've got to detach yourself from it. If you have hobbies, if you have loved ones and family,
You talk about
you
that.
talk about,
Yeah, you talk about that.
You've got to get involved. You don't want to have just a circle of friends that are cops. It ends up that way a lot because people think you're a cop and then you're ostracized. I'm at a party and they're doing coke over here and they're thinking, why do we invite Frank? Well, you know what? I'm not going to go in there and have bust everything down, but don't invite me because I'm not going to stand around while I see drugs. But for her, I've heard that a lot, and I think support from maybe other rookies and support from your family is really helpful. And if you know any veteran cops, you can talk to them. But you'll do fine. Just try to maintain a balance between your work and when you're not working.
You talk extensively about your family too and the importance of that.
Yeah, that's why I think it's important that you have a family to support you. My father had passed away at that time, and he was in World War II, and he was an MP and everything. But my mother, I'd come home from my shift that's 9 in the morning, and she'd say, "Is there anything you want to talk about?" Like I see a kid got killed and I hit in a car, and I'd just say if I felt like I needed, don't think it's weakness to talk about it.
Come on.
Yeah, it's not.
So well, you were talking a little bit about happened to when you were talking about what was going on with George Floyd and King, and kind of
discussed
the whole they don't respect cops as much.
No, they don't.
You mentioned something in your book. It's in chapter 6 here. It's called community relations. Yeah. That is something that I know they're trying to focus heavy on today. Mm-hmm. And you wrote this a long time ago. You were definitely forward thinking when you thought about the community relations.
Well, Jeff, he went back. He started in Daly City Police, which is near San Francisco, and he got reacquainted with the guy who used to be chief. And he said, your guys' book on community relations, you were light years ahead of your time, because all those things you talked about then are now what are standards for it, which is very flattering. But it was common sense. I mean, you want to get to know the neighborhood. You want to get to know who's who. Like I used to drive around the freeway, Cloverleafs, and go in places nobody would go and see the homeless people and walk out of my car and get to know who's who, what's what, make myself visible so that, and people back then didn't have this apprehension. I think politicizing cops as beasts and, abusers is so wrong, because I go on my shift to help people. And it's like a story. I don't want to take up too much time, but
no.
I came down a freeway one night at 3 in the morning, and I came upon a car on the side having problems. I pull up behind it, screw the CHP. I can go on the freeway, and I got out, and there was a family. We couldn't get the car started. They had 2 or 3 kids, and I'm thinking something just seemed really strange, and they were kind of afraid to get out of the car. So I took it upon myself. I called in a tow. And I just wanted to get him out of the car. I don't know why. So why don't you guys pile in the police car, take you up to the gas station, and drop you off, and you can call. You want to get a ride, I'll have a tow truck driver come out. Exactly 10 minutes later, a drunk driver hit that car and shattered it to pieces. And I'm thinking to myself, not like I'm anything great, but if I hadn't come upon and gotten all those people out of the car and got them out of there, if I had left them there and say, well, I'll take the driver in and put him there, they'd be dead. So police officers a lot of times do things, but you don't think about it. But like after that, I felt really great, but I felt like I was doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
My job. And that's to serve and help people. Many people today don't think that. A cop is there to help people. If you're a bad guy, they're going to be there to arrest you. Yeah. It's that simple.
I always say this thing, the fish rots from the head first. Yeah. And where do you think the turn against cops happened? And I'm talking from 40, was it 45 or was it 44? When I say 45 or 44, I'm talking about presidency.
45 or 44 in terms
45 Trump, 44 Obama.
Obama, definitely, because Obama, I even recalled, had the BLM people and brought them to the White House like they were special. Mm-hmm. And I remember a specific line that he said to them, stay the course. Mm-hmm. All they succeeded in doing was fill people with the idea to resist. If your cop you don't think they're being fair, if you're going to shout at a cop and you're going to resist, then you're opening the door. He can't just walk away from you. He's got to be able to deal with you. I'm not saying the shootings, some of them are absurd, but most of them are not. And I think Obama changed the complexion of people's attitudes when they become involved with police officers.
Very true.
That's how I think. Yep. And that's when it went downhill.
Yep.
Let me throw a couple more comments out there if we could real quick, guys. It says, my husband wants to know what Frank thinks regarding Estacada Police, the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office services, and how we could better it.
Well, when I moved here, it was Sandy Police. I didn't think too much of them. I think Clackamas Sheriffs do a really good job. I know some of them. I like them. They need more of them. You've got to be able to have backup. If they're coming from far away, they're not giving the coverage that Estacada needs. So if you have a domestic violence call or you have a call that needs 2 officers and a cover officer, well, if you only have 2 units here, what happens if you're on a call with both of them and a call breaks out here of a fight, of a robbery, of an assault? or they're going to come from Carver or Happy Valley, and they've got Damascus closed off, so they can't come down that way. So what I think Clackamas needs to do and the sheriff needs to do is, we're paying for a contract for their services. They need to be able to keep the officers safe and the citizens safe by providing more coverage. That's just my opinion. But as far as deputies, I think they do a hell of a great job. They seem like veterans. I talk to them, and they seem, and I think what they like, Estacada is kind of becoming a cop place where a lot of retired cops live. One of them said to me, there was a movie a ways back with Sylvester Stallone called Copland. When New York, all the cops lived on the other side of the bridge. Yes. He goes, Estacada is becoming like Copland.
Come.
I'm okay with that having.
Come. Yes.
They'll meet up sometimes at, was it that church over there off as you're going out? There's a meeting place.
The Baptist church.
Yeah, and he says they'll get Multnomah County sheriffs coming all the way here at night.
Yep.
And other agencies coming out here just to meet, and they know that Estacada loves their cops.
Well, Barton does it too, so it's Barton Church and the other.
Yeah, and I think that the Clackamas sheriff's deputies know, and they should know by now, especially after the ECW and the way that we treated them and given them awards. These people here love them. They don't love them in Portland. They don't love them in a lot of cities, but here they know that people. I wave to them. I see them.
Here's my thoughts. Anybody who is going to march up and down the street that says defund the police, I think then maybe they don't need the police to come to help them.
But they never know when they will. It's like that old saying: you never know when you need to pick up that phone and dial 911.
Exactly.
And you don't know what you got until it's gone.
Exactly.
I've been on calls like that where I've known these people that hate cops and now they're calling me on a domestic violence. I'm looking at them like, I'm still going to do my job, but I know who you are. But now you need me.
That's the big thing. You just hit a key point there. Is even these people that are out there than saying defund the police or all these bad things, and where they badmouth law enforcement.
Oh yeah.
If they pick up that phone and they do dial 911, that law enforcement is going to be there for them, and that's the thing.
Well, I think they should realize that in this day and age with the political situation, we don't know what they're going to do to us. This is the last line of defense: sheriff's departments, deputies, and cops. I mean, if you have a problem, who are you going to call? If there's no police or sheriff's, who are you going to call? State police? Good luck.
I once spoke to an officer. I won't say who or anything, but they told me that a while back, Estacada used to be one of those cities where there wasn't as many law enforcement officers needed, because if you had a problem, you kind of took care of yourself.
Yeah, I know.
And as Estacada started growing, there started to be more of the inner city folks started moving out here.
Yeah.
And as that happened, the need for law enforcement and the calls started rising.
Yeah.
And that's because that's how they deal with problems in the inner city. Instead of taking care of themselves, they would call law enforcement for everything. So,
I think it's kind of like what Tony said. When you start seeing graffiti everywhere and you see a crime element moving in, you got to cut the head off of that right away. If you don't have the law enforcement to do it, you're not going to be able to do it. It's going to start getting worse.
I was telling Joel last night, I feel more unsafe in this America than I did
yes.
a couple years ago.
And when I was working as a cop, when on a traffic stop or a lot of things you do, my attitude was, I'm going to be professional, and I'm going to be, because this may be the only encounter this person has with a police officer.
Right.
So how his relationship goes with me on this traffic stop is going to decide what he thinks of cops.
All right.
So there's a couple more comments, and then we're going to go to break. It says, I wish it was the way it was when it was in the older days. Take them to an alley and give them a different way of thinking.
Hey, that happened even with cops.
Well, I think if more, I think if more parents use that little, rod and staff.
The whole wood, I think we need to reinstall the woodshed.
That's what. Hey.
Do you think body cams have changed the industry in a positive way?
Ooh.
You know what? I'm not a big fan of body cams, but I can see it from the perspective of a police officer wearing one, that it gives them protection to be able to see what's really going on. And I can't argue with that. Whether they've affected police work at all, people don't seem to be too concerned about it. So when they're out there, like they have dash cams, so when you make a traffic stop, you get to see. I've had people attack me out of the car, and I'm dragging them out of the car trying to get control of them, and it's all on dash cam. So when it goes to court, that's evidence.
Yep.
So, I think with body cams, it gives the officer more protection than anybody else. I think it's beneficial for them.
Yeah, I agree. Even though they try to say they put it in there for the protection of the public,
Yeah,
I think it's actually the other way around.
I think it's for police.
I think it's done more for police.
Yeah.
So, important, really, really critical, top-notch question here. I think
Okay.
we got to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
If we buy your book on Amazon, will you autograph it?
Oh yeah. To me, it's always been an honor to autograph books.
Yes.
We didn't have the luxury of having a publisher went out of business after they did the book.
So, are you willing to autograph even this book here, and then we allow us to give it away to someone on the?
To do what?
Allow us to give it away to someone on the show.
Sure.
Okay. So we have a book here. This was brought by Frank. That's his book. So that one belongs to him over there. So this book here, we'll have Frank autograph it, and then we'll figure out something to give it away to somebody on the show here.
Yeah, I'm always feel a privilege to sign a book. It's just it feels great.
So you want to be a cop?
So you want to be a cop?
Yep. That's the name of the book. The link is in the descriptions and stuff. We're gonna head to break here, Tony. And then when we get back, we'll continue the conversation here with Frank, and we'll come up with an idea during the break on how we can get someone to win a free autograph book. But if you, just in case you don't get it, please swing out there to Amazon and
I should have
buy
brought
it.
a couple, but they don't have any.
Just real
anymore.
fast. I'm always thinking about the visually impaired community. Do you have them in large print, or do you have them in
They're on Kindle.
Autobook or Kindle? They're on Kindle.
Yeah.
Yep. Actually, I bought the Kindle book myself.
You
too,
did?
So, yeah, I bought it.
Well, Kindle.
But
Yes.
and so it's definitely different options. And also, while you're at it, while you're browsing his book, why don't you take a minute and take a look at some of our sponsors right here on the break.
Share, like, and subscribe.
Thanks.
Yards left, just grass and sweat. Overtime, 2 minutes left. Defending that win means everything to this town. Each Friday night, it's what we knew. Home field and out of town too. Cheering them on was all that we could do. Afraid to hold the line. So when we need to come together, they always choose what's right, 'cause that's a small town fight. Signing up and then shipping out. It's time to go, there ain't no doubt. Those left behind, we hate to see them leave. But duty calls and we depend on them. Iraq to Afghanistan. The red, white, and blue was sewn onto their sleeve. Our warriors, they're defenders, not afraid to hold the line. So when we need to come together, they always choose what's right, 'cause that's a small town fight. Home or away, they're hometown, tragedy strikes. Fire burns through the night. They say it's a lost cause, better pull back the crew. But our town stayed and they fought through, 'cause leaving that line isn't what we do. We held this ground and saved our little town. Hey, yeah. Our warriors, they're defenders, not afraid to hold the line. So when we need to come together, they always choose what's right. We always choose what's right, 'cause that's a small town fight. That's a small town fight.
Hey guys, welcome back from the break. There, hope you enjoyed.
Joel's loud.
Yeah, it's right into
But
his ear.
it will finally. It'll go down. It'll go down. It'll go down.
Bring it down.
Comes up,
It's called
comes up.
escalation of force.
Escalation of force.
Bring them down.
Welcome back, guys.
No, so guys, what we're gonna do? By the way, I know you guys probably have noticed that we've been playing a lot of Jesse Lee between our commercials. There, we're gonna have some new videos coming up between the commercials real soon. So, but we just wanted to kind of keep giving her that spot.
But
So.
just in case you might be watching and you don't know who she is.
Yep.
I hope you're still there.
I hope you're still there. Yep,
Oh,
there it
yeah.
is.
Just in
Look,
case
they're
you don't know
still-
who she is. She is a local artist here in Estacada, but she is quickly becoming a big star. So one of her CDs are available on Amazon, on iTunes, Jesse Lee.
Go to jesselee.com, I think is the actual website.
JesseLee.com.
Yeah, if you scroll back, you can actually, I think it's like, 4 or 5 episodes ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can actually learn more about her, but the link also to her site is in there as well.
And don't forget,
And I think-
one more thing, share, like, and subscribe. And do not forget to watch Campfire Discussions with Brandy tomorrow night at 7.
Yeah, Brandy.
So we promised something, that there would be an autographed book by my man Frank here. And
Wish I
we'll
had
give
a
it
lot
to-
more.
Yeah, so and how we're actually going to get it. Don't worry about it, we'll get one.
Oh, yeah.
But make them fight for it. So we discussed and what we're going to do to qualify someone to win the free book. And to get it, what we're going to do is we're going to ask a question. And the first one to answer the question through comments, Brandy will be watching. The first one that pops up that's correct will win the book. So do you want to ask the question?
Yeah, how did I say it before? What was the actually first police department that was started in the United States?
First police
The
department started in
first
the United States.
organized police department. And what
Organized police
what
department.
city?
Yeah, we wanted the city and the
State.
well, city, state, and and the year.
Uh-huh.
We don't need the exact date. We just want the city, state,
Yeah.
and year.
Not the exact date.
Just the year works.
No,
If you get the exact date, whatever.
If you do, you're an overachiever.
yeah,
That's all.
If you
overachiever.
do,
But hey,
yeah,
if you,
Yeah.
you're, the point is speed here. So
It's an interesting question, though.
And you can't look at Google. Just joking. You
no,
you're gonna
But you can't leave the show to look at Google. How about that? So
open
there
up
you
a
go.
second browser.
Open up it.
Oh, there you go. Another tab.
And we just happen to know this information off the top of our head. We
knew
didn't,
it.
We didn't Google it. We
Well,
talked
you're a
about-
brainiac. You came up with it, didn't you?
So Frank, I
Yes.
wanted to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about what's right behind your head.
The
And I'm not
flag?
talking about the horny bastard behind me.
No,
Or
they
George
got
over
me,
here.
man.
So, all right, so we're gonna look behind you if you don't hear that without falling off your chair. So, this is something, and it's kind of important here. I want to talk about it again because I talk about it once in a while so people understand what's behind us. So, first of all, the most important thing on the shelf is, well, besides the Constitution, the Bible, and everything else, is the Bible. But
Right.
we're gonna go a different order though. We got the flag in back, which represents obviously our country and our flag and everything that stands for. I'm going too quick here. Here at the Constitution, right at the Constitution, we actually had a Bible right here. Sorry, it's a little harder to see, but that's the Bible. And we specifically put it here because it is what the Constitution was actually founded on. Was involved God and the Bible and the people that were really had their foundation based in God. And so what that's representing is it says we the people rest on it, and so we show that it's resting on the Bible here. The second part is there's currently there's actually 14 bottles up here, or I like to say 13 plus 1.
Right here.
So up here, these bottles here.
It's okay.
My OCD is
It's
kicking
fine.
in.
It's fine. It's fine.
13 of the bottles are actually to represent the 13 fallen soldiers that were in Afghanistan, the last 13 to leave or to die in the country. And then the 14th one, which is this one right here, that bottle there is to represent all fallen law enforcement officers.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah. So
That's a really great thing.
yeah,
I mean, these people, most police officers, have families.
Yeah.
They go to work. They have a wife. They have kids. They have dogs. It's just like anybody else, but they have a job that is completely different than anything else.
So when I was a kid, there was a couple movies I really enjoyed watching, and I was like, man, that right there is the closest thing a policing's really got to be, right?
Yeah.
And I got to ask you, Police Academy, how close was it really to the?
That was a joke. I can't even.
You gotta love Mahoney, though.
You know what about that's funny though? We had a guy at the academy that taught search and seizure law, and he knows how stressed out we are at the academy. When he would come in 3 days a week, because search and seizure is a lot of stuff, he would put Police Academy and let us watch it for 5 or 10 minutes to relax us. So it's funny. I like Tackleberry. The guy
Tackleberry!
Yeah.
He was so
great.
good.
Yeah, he was funny.
I like Jonesy, this guy that could do the voices.
Oh
and,
yeah. He was
like,
really good
do
too.
karate or something like that.
Yeah.
So what about this? Is it closer to Super Troopers?
Super Troopers is absurd. I never even watched it. I wouldn't. Maybe state police or troopers would watch that.
Right.
Yeah.
You mean you guys never played the meow game when you were doing the stops?
No.
No.
Traffic stops, singularly, are probably the biggest tool and contact point you're going to have.
You mentioned that earlier.
And I know that in San Francisco, one time they were saying you couldn't stop a car for just a mechanical violation.
Right.
You don't realize that I've caught rapists and hardened felons because they had brake lights out, but I needed a reason to stop them. I'd be having people behind me, detectives going, stop them. So I go, got to do it by the book, got to do it right, because that's the first thing the attorney's going to go for, probable cause to stop them.
Right.
Brake light, no headlight out. And, they're taking away tools that a police officer needs because criminals drive cars. They hijack cars. So anyway, sorry.
No,
yeah,
that's a
it's
rand.
called
That's
probable
you.
cause.
Hey!
You need
Yeah.
probable cause.
Yes.
So,
But yeah, definitely.
well, I mean, you have a question queued up.
So,
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh no, you have the book open and you're pointing to something, so I wasn't sure if you had a question.
well, he
queued
was.
I'm already prepped. Go ahead.
up. All right. I have more comments. Ready for those? If it works. So, by the way, real quick before I get into these, how's these chairs feeling?
They're pretty brutal, but
All right. I did one of those psychological tests they gave to the police before. It's miles long, and the questions are redundant and designed to confuse you. I passed, but it's very difficult.
okay, those tests are designed to trip you up, and the questions are so ridiculous. I remember taking one of them.
Frank, it's in here. Go
Okay.
ahead, though. Go
No,
ahead.
go.
Go ahead.
Like, if I'm walking down the street and I see somebody that's coming toward me, I'll cross the street so that I don't have to walk past them. Or I feel like I'm possessed by evil spirits. Well,
right in
no normal person.
Yep.
and then they'll repeat the questions periodically, and it prints out. So if you answer it differently, I have one guy, psychologist, and they're clowns, say, well, so you feel you're possessed by evil spirits? I go, well, not recently. He says, well, it came out here. I said, well, obviously it was a mistake. They even ask you about your bowel movements.
Some of these questions are really like...
Someone is trying to poison me. Okay, looking for paranoia. I am I'm constipated much of the time.
Yes, I looked at those. Like,
okay, wait. Everyone is out to get me. I believe that there is a devil and hell. I like the work of a florist. I'm taking a test going, where am I? What,
Well, that psychology thing, that's all a big joke.
That's
right?
out of the MMPI.
So, I mean...
That's out of the MMPI, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
it's a proven test.
They spit when you have your interview. It spits it out, and
Yeah.
if you have a different answer, they're going to call you out on it.
Yes.
Well, it's a good thing we actually have a psychologist here on our show. So
There you
let's
go.
talk more about it.
Oh, there's not much to say besides the fact that, how many people, what's the probability? I mean, because I know a lot of cops that really find that the psychological test is one of the most difficult ones to take.
I didn't, because mostly they try to make you uncomfortable to begin with. There was one
A lot of
I walked out of. I've done a few things that nobody else has done, but I was already a cop and I was going to do a lateral. So I go to take this test and there's a mirror there. Well, I know it's a two-way mirror. My appointment's at 9 o'clock. And they leave me sit out there until 10 past 10. I got up and left. That was the way I responded. It's just designed to watch if you're fidgety, to watch this. And then when you talk to the psychologist, most cops feel police psychologists are a farce.
They do.
And I agree 100%.
They do. I have a friend who thinks that, and I won't reveal his name.
No, I mean, you go in there. I had to go in there a couple times after violent incidences, or if you take your gun out and stuff like that. And I'm like, I got nothing to say. I'm going to bring this up because I don't think they use it today. The stress from the department, sergeants, captains, commanders, it used to be huge. They would screw with their own cops. If they didn't like you, they'd make your life miserable. Mm-hmm. And they used a tool called fitness for duty evaluation. Mm-hmm. And the union couldn't fight it, and they could freely send you to the police psychologist for any bogus reason. And when that goes in your file and you want to try to go to another department, well, good luck.
It stays in there. Yep.
That's why we tried to fight it.
Yep.
And I know I had sergeants I couldn't stand, and jackasses, and lieutenants too. So it's not like you'd think cops are one big happy family. Is not the case. Maybe now more than then. Yeah. Like I said, there were cops that say, hey, didn't like each other, shift it over, like, well, let's go out in the back and settle it.
Well, as a therapist, I've had the privilege of being able to talk with cops, and those are active and those who are inactive, and they say you think that there is a brotherhood, and there's a blue line, but internal affairs, it's a bear.
Oh man, especially if you know someone's in there that's running internal affairs, but also doesn't like you.
Yep.
When I got out of my field training, I had to go right to graveyard, and I remember when my field training officer would say, "Finish your in custody report." This guy would go, "Here, Sergeant so and so." He didn't like me, and I'm brand new, and I know I got to go to his shift, and I haven't done nothing to him. Yeah. So it was very difficult for me because there were two 30-year veterans, really brutal veterans, knowledgeable, that worked graveyard specifically because they didn't want to deal with the administration. So when I would go out and work, getting to learn my job, I could go to them. If I went to my sergeant, not only wouldn't he help me, he would write it up in an evaluation and use it against me. So a lot of people get promoted within the department. One of our commanders had a chief had like 2 years of street experience. So they tend to promote back then the wrong people. Because I had a few sergeants that were great. You want a sergeant that's going to back you up, and you'll go through a wall for this guy. There weren't that many of them when I was very political. And just, I wasn't really impressed, but my brother was a cop too. My cousin was an FBI agent. I had another cousin that worked for the FBI. I knew a lot of cops, and they all say the same thing. The biggest stress came from within the department. That's why in the book it talks about what goes on in the department.
Yeah.
A couple more. Go ahead.
Go ahead, bro.
Sure.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys in my car community are officers or law enforcement. It's a way to wind down from that sort of stress. So.
In what community?
Car community.
a car.
I don't know if that what a car community is. That
I'm
like
not
where you
sure.
show cars or like where you
I think it's like
rebuilding cars. Or
Yeah, I
something?
mean any type of hot when you want to have something you can do to unwind and get your mind off that job. That's imperative.
This one says, I keep hearing more about car break-ins locally. Anything people can do besides lock their doors?
Man, I mean, you don't want to get this.
valuables in your car.
Yeah, I mean, what you want to do is they're going to look into a car with their flashlight and look first. So if you can keep your car, nothing visible inside, you're probably going to do better than a lot of people are in a hurry. They'll leave stuff in there. Just keep your car doors locked wherever you go. And at night, when you're parked somewhere in a parking lot and you're leaving, make sure you look in the back seat of your car. And just be aware. There's no awareness. All you see is people on phones walking down the street like this.
Yeah.
And, you know, they'll just take you apart.
I don't really understand that. I'm not much into technology or anything.
Yeah, sure.
Says the cyber guy.
Yeah. No, I think just keep your car locked and keep your valuables out of it, including the glove box.
So, you mean I shouldn't keep all my gold stashed in my
No, or maybe your gold coin sets.
Yeah.
Keep it right out in the open.
Keep all my guns and ammunition.
Your guns, yeah.
All on the seat.
Don't
the
leave
back
your
seat.
38 and
Yeah.
357.
Right.
What
I'll
about my
do-
rocket launcher?
Rocket launcher, yeah, I don't know. That
Well,
might be
since,
too much.
since
for them
you know,
to
I
go
hear
away.
I'm part of a militia. You know.
Oh, yeah,
gosh.
yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. See, it says Frank Pickens, Estacada hero and #1 patriot. God
Wow.
bless you, brother.
Thank
Wish
you.
we had a squadron
Wow.
of you to protect our town.
That's a tremendous compliment. Thank you.
That's awesome. Right on.
That's
That's
great.
good. That's awesome.
Wonderful.
Oh, my
Have
goodness.
you ever been attacked by criminals that resisted arrest during your officer days?
All the time.
Never.
All the time.
They just go willingly.
If you're a criminal, would you attack a guy with those sunglasses
And that mustache.
And that
mustache.
and a shotgun?
And a shotgun.
I don't know. I'd be like, man.
Seriously.
I'll tell you
So,
something.
yeah,
I don't know about today, but back then when you had to fight, you had to fight for your life sometime. And no, I never really. I fought some huge guys, but you get help. That's why you need backup, because you don't want to have to. You don't want to have to shoot somebody. I once had a 350-pound Samoan guy. Had my baton out. There was a huge fight. I hit him in the leg, broke in half. Sitting like this, and the guy grabbed me.
Did he just laugh at it?
No, I mean, a lot, but not like now. I mean, mostly drunk, intoxicated people would. But usually if they see you, they'll size you up. And that's what goes on. That's why female officers used to have problems. And so with me, no, I didn't actually have a lot of problems because people usually wouldn't fuck with me. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
You can cuss on the show.
No, you talk about
okay.
female officers in your book and about the differences, how they process. When you were a cop, there weren't a lot of females in the department,
No.
correct?
No. They were kind of, a lot of people didn't want them there. There was hardly any female sergeants or captains. I remember specifically they'd have attitudes that while they're working, that they would even be treated differently. I remember one female stopped a guy, and I was looking in the back, and two guys just left her alone, and I'm like, and I stayed there, and I saw stuff she didn't see, and help her. And the idea is to help. It's not to, make somebody's job harder. That's where you said. There's a lot of people that might not like each other, but when you're out there doing that job, you are brotherhood.
You're a brother.
I don't care if you don't like somebody or not.
You get over it.
When you're on the field,
Yep.
you're a brother, and you better. If you don't, they're going to size you up.
I wonder how close that is to like when you're in war and you're over there. You leave a
Probably
lot.
similar.
You check a lot of your you check a lot of your problems at the door, and they say there ain't no atheist in a foxhole. So
That's it.
you change a lot of that in there. But so another one we've got on here says the best guest you've had yet. Love, brother Frank.
Thank you.
So
Wow, man, that's awesome.
lots of love here, man.
Wow.
Wow, that's awesome.
I had both mine and my daughter's cars broken into this afternoon/evening by the same woman, and the daylight, same parking lot in the center of Estacada within 45 minutes of each other.
I'm really curious about today. When I was on graveyard, calls would start coming in when people would go to work and find their cars had been broken into. To try and be good public relations, I know a lot of those are gone. I'd take fingerprints. I'd let them know that I'm going to try. I'm not just going to go out. Now, sometimes I wonder, do they even respond?
You probably do a call on the phone.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't used to be that way.
I mean, they probably respond to a car break-in, but I mean, you got to imagine they're so understaffed, so they probably do as many things as they can. I think they recently released something. It was either Multnomah County or Clackamas or something that there's certain calls they're not going to respond to.
Maybe where those cars are broken into, if there's a store there or a business there, they should put a sign in the parking lot, lock your car doors or something to let people know that when they're in this place of business, their cars are being broken into.
Well, in small towns like our community, which is growing, but we tend to not feel like we have to. Or lock our doors even,
Just locking your doors at night. Because a lot of times they look for open car doors to open up.
This next one.
Joel's laughing.
Is there anything we can do when we catch someone in our cars? Beat them senseless?
Yeah, I mean, you know what?
You heard it here, folks. Yeah. No,
I'll tell you what.
That was a comment, by the way, not a recommendation.
Oh!
I think, hey, wait. What you do first before you beat them senseless is this. Then you
What did you do? Pray for him?
Oh, no. I looked over both shoulders.
Look over.
Well, you know what? I will tell you that a resisting victim is not as appealing to somebody that's just, don't hurt me, don't hurt me, don't hurt me. You know what I'm saying? You can't. I'm not saying you should get yourself killed, but if somebody's in your car or somebody's in an area and they're gonna, you have to do what you have to do. You have every right to do that. It's your property.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, by all means.
Here's a question. We have people who are not able-bodied.
Right.
We have people in wheelchairs. We have people in crutches.
I know.
We have people with canes. How in the world do that population protect themselves? We know how women protect themselves. We know how, but how would you recommend that population?
Well, I know I got my wife a stun gun, and it has also a siren on it. You can wear stuff around your neck like whistles. At night, you can carry like little flashlights on your keychain that you can also use to beat them. I mean, flashlight.
And your cane is a good one too.
And cane,
Everybody's
so,
on the cane.
and having a phone, obviously, if you can call.
Yeah.
But having something that can create a loud noise is always a great thing.
Draw attention.
Even one of those big boat air horns, they're only about that big, and you press it, man, it'll blow you away.
True.
I know people that carry those.
I wanted to give this back to that original comment. I wanted to give it just a couple options for them to consider. If you see someone in your car, first of all, if you can and you are able to call law enforcement, let them know.
Yeah.
That's the first thing because if there is going to be some sort of confrontation, you want law enforcement there to help you. If you have a group around you or something like that where you can have more than one person, definitely make sure you have them. But sometimes just yelling at them from a distance, give yourself a chance not to be. If you're going to walk up to somebody and start to confront them, if they have a weapon or something, you're going to get yourself hurt.
That's true.
I mean, I would say in this day and age, if you see someone in your car, you could do what Joel said, approach them, say, hey, get out of my car, Maybe it would be better to, if you have a phone, most people have it, is to dial 911 and not engage it.
Yeah.
Because also then you get in lawsuits and...
Well, yeah, sometimes I think I would, tell me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't just yelling, bringing attention to them.
Yeah, well, it shocks them.
They don't want to be seen. They don't want people attention at them, what they're doing. So yelling at them, bringing that attention to them so other people will see them, would that be safer than approaching them, you think? Or
I think, you don't want to approach them because if you shock somebody, it may shock them into doing something bad.
I'm more worried that these days people could have knives and they could have a gun on them. They could have a weapon themselves. And last thing I don't want to hear about is someone has approached somebody and was killed for over property. Yeah,
and if you do get into a conflict, especially females, can of mace.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean that's great. The whistle is a great thing. If you have a stun gun with a little alarm beeper, I got one for my wife. There's a place in Carver that sells that stuff.
I actually gave my wife a taser that can actually shoot.
Oh, really?
Like 18, 20 feet or something like that. So
what's funny?
There's still pepper spray too.
Yeah, pepper spray. We didn't have the tasers. The sergeants did, and they kept them in their trunk. And we always used to joke, "What good is that?" Half the sergeants never even could leave the department. Right. We had some bad ones. We used to call one of them. He's in there, Sergeant No Legs.
Right.
For Sergeant No Legs, we didn't know he had legs because he never.
He didn't have legs.
No, he had legs, but we didn't know it because he never got out of his car.
We know.
I mean, simply that.
Oh my word.
Yeah, you never saw it until they called him No Legs.
Someone made a recommendation. You know, it says, "Yell, no, don't hurt me before you shoot."
Yeah,
you shot their ass. I'd more yell like, "Drop the weapon."
Drop your weapon. Yeah. You could say, "Hey, I'm calling the police. I'm on with the police right now." Hold the phone up.
Right.
They see that, they're probably going to take off.
Yeah, or anything. I think any sort of even any sort of things. The biggest thing I think is make sure you have an escape route to yourself though, so you can get away.
Yeah, you always want to be
Protect
able to
yourself.
have that.
It's property. It's a piece of property.
Yeah, I mean, people today, I mean, this is crazy, you know. And I think going back to the Obama thing with police, they've made people feel empowered to, not just with cops, but to take liberties with people. You know,
Right on there.
They can take liberties with people and bully people, and you know what?
Yes,
And
made people victims.
Yes, and that's the thing that
There are victims and there are victims.
They're nothing worse than a bully. You give me a bully, and he will no longer be a bully.
With bullies, I have a really big thing about bullies, and I don't like
too.
them. And I think if you have the capability, when there's a bully, I think it's if you have the capability, it's almost your duty to stand up and to stand up against that bully, because bullies are bullies because people don't stand up to them.
You bloody their nose. You bloody their nose one time.
Yep, and in a school, you know, you learn that if you knock the biggest bully down, all the other bullies tend to leave you alone.
Yeah.
So
they want to bully people that are going to just cower before them.
They use fear. Fear is their weapon.
Even if a guy's 6'4" and you're down here at 5'11", but you're standing up to him, it makes a big difference. Then they'll actually start feeling like, well, what is this making me look like?
One of our comments just came in and says bullies are cowards. So.
They are cowards. They are cowards.
Yes, they are.
Walgreens closed their stores in San Francisco due to all the thefts.
Yeah.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And Ocasio-Cortez was the one that said it was kind of an all contrived deal out there, that things weren't really happening as bad as they seemed to be.
Anything that comes out of her mouth makes my skin crawl.
Oh man, she's so stupid.
I mean, who elects these people?
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
Do you not know?
Yes,
Let me give you an education.
Okay, wait, as dumb as she is, I'm kind of curious of the who elected her, but I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
But the who says when they're being called out on something, says the Republicans are mad at me because they want to date me.
I heard
that's
that.
the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
What?
Yeah,
You heard she said that? She got called
Who said that? Ocasio-Cortez?
She
It doesndoesn't surprise me, actually.
AOC said
Consider the source.
She went down to Miami, and
With
she
no
was caught
mask.
in Miami vacationing with no mask on, and then she got called out about it online, and her response was, "Oh, all the Republicans are mad just because they don't want to date me and I won't date them," or something like that.
Can I tell you something? Nothing against Gen Zs, but that is so much of a Gen Z. You mad because you really want to date. That's why.
But then they go after the governor, Ron DeSantis. But then they go to his state.
Yeah,
I guess Ron DeSantis want to date her too.
Yeah, I mean, Ron DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis doesn't want to have anything to do with her.
They keep going down to down to their state. I mean, it wasn't.
Stay out of Florida.
Wasn't Pelosi that has spotted $25 million mansion in Florida? Man, if Florida's such a bad thing and the governor's so bad and oh my goodness, it's so dangerous and people are dying everywhere down there, why are they all rushing down to Florida?
She's a walking contradiction anyway. Remember her big refrigerator and
remember the beauty salon?
The beauty salon. She's like, wear a mask. Well, she didn't have a mask. Right? She's a big
Newsom the same way.
Newsom. Yep.
Clowns.
Yeah. Get me started there. Antifa uses fear. Yeah, they're bullies.
Oh yes.
And they're definitely cowards. Mm-hmm. Look at Maxine Waters telling people to threaten anyone with a MAGA hat. If you see them in a restaurant or on the street, tell them they're not welcome.
You see, that's a politician that's creating violent situations.
Yes, I got to tell you that. Speaking of that, Candace Owens, you know Candace Owens.
I love Candace Owens.
Candace Owens was at a restaurant. She was accosted by Antifa. Yeah. You remember that?
Yes.
Yep. And she ended up going out, and she basically drew reference to Maxine Waters. If you're going to get this, when she tells you, go out there and make sure people don't get to have a quiet dinner.
How often do you hear them say, let's burn this burn this down. Let's
burn this
America down.
Let's burn it
You
down.
know, they can say that, but you know what? If a Republican or somebody says something,
click.
it's the double standard and hypocrisy.
Absolutely.
Extremely hypocritical.
Hypocritical.
Hypocritical. Thank you.
Yes. No.
You know, and it's a lot of it's cowardice.
Yeah.
Isn't it a law you have to meet force with equal force to defend yourself, not fist or criminal or to guns or home or owner? No, not exactly, because when I took I took my test to get my concealed weapons permit, we talked about force, and one of the things, and they're even talking about with you during when we went shooting.
Yeah.
And it's situational based. For example, if a 300-pound big old boy is coming at a young small woman who's much less
physically
smaller, and she shoots him and kills him, she has a solid defense to stand on because
she has a fear for her life.
Yeah, and she's obviously not going to be able to beat the guy, so she has a fear for her life. That's unequal force, but at the same time, you're looking at it as a situational reaction. So.
Wait a minute. When you told that story, it was a good, legitimate story, but you said that's the same thing with me. Are you calling me a woman?
Well, sometimes I didn't say it.
There is something to that, though.
Yeah, because you have a disability, so your vision's not near as well, especially if it gets like dark out or something like that. Yeah. Harder for you to see.
Light out too. So, but yeah.
If you're more likely that if something happened where you had an attacker or a threat come at you, and you end up defending yourself, let's say you kill somebody, and even if they're the same size as you, even if they were unarmed, you have a just defense for that because you have a disability that gives you that leverage and that leadway.
Now, just so y'all know, though, with that, you're right. And I was actually really surprised when he told me this. Yeah. I don't choose to carry it because I'm not ready to shoot someone I don't mean to shoot either. So you got to be ready to do it if you're going to have it.
And that's one of the things about being a cop that you need to be able to do.
Mm-hmm. That's
and another tip, if you want to be a cop, it may take you a while, but be prepared to see a lot of dead people.
Oh,
seen enough of those in my life.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not, you know, I get calls, people not showing up for their doctor appointment, going around the house. I've seen homicide. You know, it's just you're gonna see it, and you got to be able to deal with it.
So I got to ask you. I mean, I have issues for my PTSD issues. Smells, do they get to you sometimes?
Well, the trick a lot of us had is we had a little Bengay on the car.
Yeah, we actually use Vicks.
The smell, no. I mean, we had some drowning floaters. They're the worst smelling ones. Well, but yeah, I've seen.
Let's talk about like today, these days. Oh. If you smell something, can you not? Is there smells you can't handle? Because it's
no, I don't. I mean, I have some issues like
burning hair. I can't do burning hair.
Burning hair. Not really. I mean, I have a lot of anxiety from those days that I've learned to deal with because it's cumulative.
Well, you like to have your vision shut down and your back to the door, right?
Well, my wife, I mean, when we go to restaurants, she'd stand there because she knew I was going to look around. She goes, where are we going to sit? Back to the wall, see the front door. It's just ingrained into you because I've been in restaurants and I've seen people come in and hold them up and they don't see you, but you can see them. And if you're off duty, you're carrying your off-duty weapon, and you're required to use that. You're a cop 24 hours a day.
You're a cop 24 hours
So I always have learned that that's just the way I am.
Can I point that out again?
Yeah.
Law enforcement they're never off duty.
Yeah. No.
They're off duty, but they're never off duty.
True.
And so that is a mode and a stress that they carry with them on a consistent basis.
Yeah, because I've seen an officer tell a story where he went by an accident scene and someone saw him, called the department, and he got in trouble because he didn't stop and render aid or stop and see what was going on. And so it's, I mean, it's...
You said something. You said it's cumulative. What do you mean by that?
Well, because, you know, every day you go to work or every night you go to work and you see what you see. And every night, like for me being stuck on Graveyard, it was drunks, bar checks, bar fights. So I became, speaking of smells, I've never drank in my life. I don't drink, never have. But being around drunks, I hate drunks. The smell of alcohol bugs the hell out of me when someone's had too much of it. Because it reminds me of dealing with drunk people and going to bar fights and the smell.
That just reminded me,
Yeah, I just, you know, because you deal with drunks and is on domestic violence,
You mentioned domestic violence a
Yeah.
couple times. Isn't that one of the most dangerous calls you can go
Yeah,
on?
and you have to be really strategic, and you have to be tactical. And I don't know about today. I don't know. I taught at the academy certain classes, but I don't know what they're teaching today, because some of the incidences and shooting incidents and stuff that's gone on, it makes me wonder a little bit. But I'm not judging. I wasn't there. But the last thing an officer wants to do is shoot somebody when they go to work. And then you hear all these people going, cops are going to beat you and kill you. No, they don't.
No, they don't.
It's the last thing they want to do. And they'll do everything to handle something without having to do it. De-escalation.
De-escalation.
That's what you try to do.
We had a 17-year cop on before, and he said he very rarely, if any, had to discharge his weapon.
Yeah,
So he goes through every other step before he gets to that.
Only maybe like on alarms and building searches, you have it out.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of, I've had traffic stops that were absolutely crazy. I had a guy, he had racial problems. He was a big black dude.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped him. People would jump out of their car, try to intimidate. He walked toward me, and I'm just standing there waiting for him, and I'm going to let him spiel out. But I had a dog in the back, so I wasn't too concerned. But then I called for a cover unit. Turns out he was a prison guard up at, so you know what I did afterward? I let him go, and I said, you got a bad attitude, and you think that you're going to intimidate people. I didn't write him for expired registration, but I said, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt, but you're going to run into police officers who will not. And then when I got back to the station, I had called the state prison, to let him know, told him what he was doing, because he's still considered law enforcement. That's no way to behave.
Yes.
So when you stop, it's true, when you stop a cop, you're not usually going to give him a ticket unless he becomes an asshole. If he's drunk, I've stopped the mayor's wife and called the sergeant.
Not our mayors, just
Not
so
our
you know.
mayors,
Yeah,
not
Okay, just want to clear that one up for people.
Yeah, and
Yes,
I said, well,
Yeah.
I got to call the sergeant because it's going to come down on him. And he goes, no, call her a cab. I would have she was drunk. They're drunk in public too. So, you just gotta use common sense. And I just think today there's just a lot of lack of common sense everywhere.
Yeah, I can
Not
agree
so
with
common.
that one. I
Yeah.
can agree with that one.
Yeah.
A couple more comments, but I want to ask our producer: did anyone turn in a result for a?
Yes,
Okay.
they did, but then there was another answer that a bunch of people had that was before that, so I wanted us to do some research to make sure we were correct.
Okay, so our research, apparently there was another answer that was possibly before our research. So I think we're gonna validate. Now this we asked for the first organized law enforcement, so we'll see what that says. Organized police department. Sorry.
And don't forget, I'll sign that.
Yeah, he will sign as well. I'll sign afterward. But we'll do a research and we'll figure out who that's going to be, and then we'll make an announcement on the website. On the Facebook page. So a couple more things. Who elects him? Portland's last choice for mayor was Wheeler or lady that wears a skirt.
Well, the lady was
Chairman
crazy.
Maloney.
Oh.
I went to jail for menacing and pointing a firearm at another for defending my home. This one says.
Yeah, that's really tricky, and it's really screwed, even in a shooting. If someone's not in your home
That's a hard call.
and you shoot them, I mean, that's a very tough, but they're a hard line on that.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, they can do a lot of stuff at your door and force their way in, and you may never be able to use your gun. They'll kill you.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's really hardcore, man. I mean...
Okay, so we are pro-Second Amendment, and everybody has a gun. Everybody has a gun.
Yeah.
How do you, as a former law enforcement, recommend that we use it to help in situations where we don't have law enforcement, or they're not able to get there, or when they're there? What are we supposed to do?
You mean if you're open carrying or you have a concealed
If
gun?
you have it concealed, or... Yeah,
Well, I mean, I think that you have to be comfortable in using it. So if you're at a robbery, I mean, you can use it and pull it and use it if you must, if someone's shooting people and you have cover and concealment. Cover. But I think it's used, especially, when you're carrying it, if you can carry it. I think we can here.
Yeah, you can open carry in the state of Oregon. In Portland, they have more rules. If you're open carrying, you can have bullets and stuff.
But as a concealed weapon, they don't know you have it. But if you're in a situation like these mass shootings or theater shootings, you got to be prepared if you pull your weapon out that you're going to be able to use it if you should to save lives. And
how will a cop identify who's who?
Well, if somebody, you'd have to see if somebody's actively a shooter, you know, like high schools, you know, or school shootings.
Yeah, don't reveal anything that you guys use because I don't.
I won't,
you know,
but I mean, you identify
Mhm.
who the shooter is if you can. Who the one who was holding a gun
Uh-huh.
or pointing it at other people.
Okay.
That's your shooter. So you identify the shooter is the most important thing, and then you deal with the shooter. And if you see people that are already been shot or mayhem's occurring, if you can take out the shooter, you take them out. Don't think twice. Shoot them in the head, twice to the chest, one to the head. Now, it's unfortunate if people who don't like guns, a lot of these shootings, like in Aurora, Colorado, in a theater, I remember,
Yes.
I don't know how many people got killed. If somebody had
Was
a
it
gun,
17?
yeah, if somebody had a gun in there, well, you know, it wouldn't have gone that way.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we are actually at time, so I wanted to go ahead and give a chance if you had any final questions for Frank or anything you
It's
want.
my buddy.
It's my buddy too. I just want to say I recommend this book. Again, if
thank
you
you.
don't have to be a cop, and I think
No.
Frank recommended that everyone reads this book. It'll give you an inside look at our cops and what they have to do to get trained and get out on the streets. And if you see a cop, you guys, especially in Estacada, high five them.
Oh, yes,
love.
definitely.
You know, if you can,
They love it.
they love it, and just let them know that they're loved. So
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you
great
for reading.
advice. Thank you. That's
And,
tremendous.
I want to get feedback from our audience on something. Please go ahead and give us some feedback and comments on this. We are considering, we're currently in negotiations to possibly bring a third show on here in a few months, and that might be considering to have a law enforcement run type of show, where it'd be a talk show and have some law enforcement people on it, and that would be the subject of the show. If you guys think that would be an interesting show, please by all means let us know. I'd like to get some feedback on it, but we're kind of looking at maybe putting something together for that here in a few months. So yeah, definitely give us some feedback.
and then we have 2 shows to recommend.
Yeah, we have 2 shows to recommend.
Yeah.
There's the last question here, and it says, in Oregon, if somebody is breaking into my house, can I legally shoot them? That is a very loaded question, and I don't think we can answer that here on this show.
No.
I recommend that you actually, I recommend everybody really try to take
Find a
something.
safe room.
Yeah, what I
Yeah.
recommend actually is everybody to take, if you get a chance, take a escalation of force type of class.
Good. That's
I
good.
mean, just so you understand what your actual rights are in your home and as a person, what you can and can't do as to defend yourself and your stand your ground laws and all those type of things. You can get a course like that. They're like $30-$40. It's usually what you take in order to get a firearm safety and to get your concealed weapons. It's the same course pretty much. They teach you the same thing. So I recommend getting one of those so you can let someone who's experienced at training and answering those questions to give you the full spiel on it, because it's not an easy answer question.
And keep flashlights around your house in different rooms.
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely.
Always
definitely.
have flashlights.
Good.
So yes,
Good.
definitely. Okay, guys. Well, we really appreciate you joining us for tonight, and make sure you get a chance to like, subscribe, share. We do have a YouTube. Please swing over there and go ahead and to maybe hit the notification bell. Go ahead and like it over there if you can. We have a lot more videos. Check out our website at backwoodsbrothers.com. We are just around the corner from releasing our brand new merch line. You may have noticed I took all the products off of our shop because we're about to release a whole bunch of new ones for the Pissed Off Patriot line, some more generalized stuff with our logos. So those are coming through. We're also working on some new stuff too around the corner that you guys might really think is kind of cool, such as a chance to maybe subscribe and find get some of our kind of backstage videos and bloopers and all those other fun things. So thanks again for joining us. Any last words, guys?
Well, thanks for having me. I had a really great time. You guys are great. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
And we'll have to have you on in the future.
It's been
Absolutely.
great. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. And again, we'll see you next week, 7 p.m. right here. Oh, and watch tomorrow, 7 p.m. too.
Yes.
Brandy.
Brandy.
All right, Brandy. And
Brandy.
The big cheese.
yeah, campfire discussions with Brandy. Okay, we'll see you next time, guys.